The Slaughter Man. The town of Black Hollow had always been quiet, too quiet. Nestled deep in the woods, it had a population of barely 1,000. People kept to themselves, locked their doors at night, and whispered about the legend of the Slaughter Man. No one knew if the story was true or just a warning to keep children from wandering the woods at night. But the tale was always the same: a hulking figure with hollow, rotting eyes and a butcher's cleaver waiting in the dark. They said he didn't just kill. He harvested his victims, cutting them apart like meat, taking their flesh for God knows what purpose. Then one autumn night the killing started again. Ethan Carter, a local bartender, was the first to go. He had locked up the Hollow pub at midnight and started his usual walk home through the empty streets. The air was cold, laced with the scent of damp earth and burning wood from chimneys. But as he turned a corner, he felt something behind him. A shadow. A heavy breath. He spun around, but there was nothing there, just the silence of the night. He chuckled to himself, shaking off the nerves, and kept walking. But then came the scraping sound. Slow. Deliberate. Metal against pavement. His heart pounded. "Who's there?" he called. Silence. Then out of the darkness, the Slaughter Man stepped forward. His body was massive, wrapped in a bloodstained butcher's apron. His face was barely human, pale, sagging skin stretched over an impossibly wide grin, black eyes sunken deep into his skull. And in his hand, a rusted cleaver dripped with something wet. Ethan tried to run, but the Slaughter Man was faster. With inhuman strength, he grabbed Ethan by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Ethan kicked, clawed, choked, his breath cutting off as the Slaughter Man grinned wider. Then with a single swing, the cleaver tore through his flesh. The next morning, Ethan's body was found in the middle of the street, or what was left of it. His head was gone. His arms were gone. His torso was split open, ribs cracked like a butcher's carcass. But the worst part? His skin, peeled away, removed with sickening precision. The Slaughter Man had taken it with him. The town was in shock. The police had no answers. But the old folks in town knew the truth. "He's back," whispered Margaret Halloway, the town's oldest resident. The Slaughter Man never left. He was just waiting. More bodies followed. Sarah Jennings, the librarian, was found with her spine removed, her face carved into a twisted smile. Danny Thompson, a teenager, was discovered in the woods, strung up by his tendons like a marionette. Each time the same thing was missing: the skin. A group of locals, desperate and terrified, decided to hunt him down. Armed with shotguns and torches, they followed the trail of blood leading deep into the woods. There they found an old slaughterhouse, abandoned for decades. But inside, the stench was unbearable. Rot, blood, flesh. Hanging from hooks were the skins, human skins, stretched and preserved like leather. And in the center of the room, the Slaughter Man stood, waiting. They opened fire. Shot after shot tore into his flesh, but he did not fall. He only laughed, a deep, guttural sound as he stepped forward. One by one they fell. Their screams echoed through the night as the Slaughter Man claimed them, his cleaver working with gruesome precision. By morning, the slaughterhouse was silent. And in the center of town, a new statue had appeared, bodies stitched together into a grotesque tower of human flesh. The Slaughter Man was still here. And he was still hungry.